I hope all of you can see my screen now. Can you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir. We
Rohan.
can. Yes.
I'll quickly open up the curriculum. What were we discussing in the previous session?
So we had a recap of the first and second class. So the first class was around about Android pen testing approach, and the second class is about Android bug bounty hunting. So, and basically about the differences and the suitability and what's the difference in between them and for what which is suitable in that aspect. So.
All right. Did we also discuss which approach is better? Pen testing, bug hunting?
Yes, so we did uh,
Hmm.
with respect to whatever we done. So.
Okay. Sanjeev, do you remember the conclusion? What were the points that we kept in mind when choosing the approach?
Yes, Rohan. Actually, like you're given the scenarios, like exactly like when you need a pen testing or when you need a, like a researcher, and when organization can, option for the bug bounties and all.
All right. Got it. So now we can get started with the upcoming discussion. While I was concluding the previous discussion, I mentioned that in the next discussion we will be discussing some of the most common test cases that we have to keep in mind while we are discussing about any of the security issue. And along with that, I will also be discussing reports with you, because as a pen tester as well as a bug hunter, reports do play a very important role. So today we will also be having a look at reports. It may not have been officially mentioned in the curriculum, but we will be having a discussion on that, on how is a report writing done. Because the first few sessions, because they are theory, I would want to cover all of the theories at once, so that when we start looking at the practicals, in like when we have completed around 20% of the theory, when we'll start looking at the practicals, till the end we will be discussing only about the practicals. So I just want to get done with the theory as early as possible, so that you get an idea on how do the industries, how do the organizations approach a pen tester from the perspective of a client. How do you approach pen testing from the perspective of a bug hunter? How do you approach bug hunting? Now, so for that, let's quickly get started with our today's discussion on some of the things that you should be knowing. Let's first get started with key problems in the Android applications. Now, because it's a theory, I have majorly noted down all of the topics that you should know. So I have mentioned them here. I was writing good cryptography tools and techniques here. So here I have mentioned down some of the most common security issues and also the pertaining best practices when it comes to Android app pen testing or when it comes to Android app development. So here what I have mentioned here are some of the key things that we should be keeping in mind when we are performing pen testing on the Android apps. That will also be covering the pen testing methodology of the traditional Android applications. The first thing, the first challenge that we have mentioned here is underdeveloped security awareness. You must have heard it in a lot of webinars, in a lot of books, in a lot of conferences, that humans are the weakest part of security. When anyone is developing a application, it may be a web application, it may be an Android application, the people who are developing the code, and more importantly, the people who are designing the application, I'm not talking about the UI designing here, I'm talking about the system design. How will the backend be working? How will the complete architecture of the application will look like? How will the data be managed? How will the processing on the data be happening? How will the data be stored? What type of database will be stored? What type of encryption algorithm will be used? People who are architects, solution architects, will be designing how the application will look like, how the application will operate, how will we be making it efficient. For them, and as well as the developers, if in case the awareness related to the security is not up to a significant mark, in that case security issues related to all of the apps that they are associated with, it becomes highly probable, because when they are designing the application, when they are implementing the application, when they are writing the code, they will not be keeping the security principles in mind. So for that reason, as an organization, as a team, the first thing that we need to do that will be helping us in the long run is that we should be getting our key technical people in to the right direction. We should be making them aware of the security. We should be telling them that these are all of the things that you should be keeping in mind. We can discuss basic flaws with them, most common security issues that are found with them, and we can ensure that all of the most common mistakes that can be made on the code level, on the thinking level, on the architect level, we can take care of them. So if we have taken care of things in the designing phase, we will be able to get a very good hold of security in the upcoming phases as well. So the first thing that you should be taking care of when it comes to Android security, Android application security, or even if in case it's Android pen testing, first thing that you should be taking care of is making the stakeholders, making the people related to the Android application, related to our application, aware about the security. Second thing that is most commonly a problem is that that in Android we will be using a lot of third-party libraries. So why do we use libraries? For performing specific functions. Like if you have to process images, you have third-party libraries. If you want to process videos, you have libraries. If you want to open web URLs, you have libraries. If you want to view PDFs, you have libraries. If you want to interact with the camera, you have libraries. So for all of the actions that we will be performing, we have third party libraries. So when we will be developing some code in house, and in that we will be developing third party libraries. So if the libraries are vulnerable, our application will automatically become vulnerable. So when we are integrating any of the library, we should ensure that the library that we are integrating and the way by which we are integrating them, the way by which we are mixing our in-house code with those third-party libraries, we should be keeping in mind that these libraries can also be vulnerable. A lot of people, a lot of my developer friends assume that the library that they are including, it is already secure. We only need to take care of the best practices when we are writing the in-house code. That should not happen. You should always be keeping in mind that any of the third party library that you are using, it can be vulnerable. And to be even on the safer side, I would suggest that assume that the third party library that you are using, it is vulnerable. And keeping that assumption in mind, take all of the security measures against it. So that is the second key problem and the suggestion, that the third party libraries that are being used, you should be having an assumption that these libraries can be vulnerable, and on the basis of that assumption, ensure that you have already taken enough security implementations against them. After that, writing secure code, all of you must have seen that whenever any of the client will be approaching a pen tester, they will be asking that we want to have a code review. We want to have a secure code review. What they want to do is the code that they have written, the development team has written, they want us as a pen tester to analyze the code and check if in case they have made any of the mistakes while writing the code. I'm not talking about the bugs that this code is not reachable, we have syntax errors. No, not that problem. Challenges as in the terms of security. If this code is vulnerable to this security issue, if we have used any of the function that has been deprecated, if we have used any of the library that has known security issues, if we have made any of the logical security issue that the attackers can enjoy, that the attackers can take advantage of. So for that reason, writing secure code will always be coming in handy when you are in the path of developing a secure Android application. For now, you might feel that Rohan, discussing this theory is quite boring, but believe me, when in the upcoming discussions, when in the upcoming engagements, the client calls that you will be having, these points, these key terms that I'm making you aware of, they will be playing a very important role. So please pay attention to these, keep them in mind. If in case you are writing things down in the notepad, or maybe using a pen and a paper, do let me know. I can slow myself down so you can write the things easily. So writing the secure code, that
A
is,
little slow now.
huh? Shall I go
Uh,
a bit slow?
yes, a little bit slow would be fine because I've been writing everything down, missing few keywords. So
No problem. If
thank you,
in
sir.
case you miss out on anything, just mark that you have missed out anything here. After the session, I'll again give you a revision and I can go a bit slow so you can properly note down the things.
Thank you so much, sir.
Rohan, please can you share these notes after the class?
Sure, I'll do that. What I'll do is
Yeah,
I'll create a Google Drive, I'll upload the notes there, and
yeah,
I'll get you the access. Anyways, I have to
yeah.
send you the calendar invite. I'll take care
Okay, yeah.
of the
Thank you.
formalities after today's session.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you.
So the next part, the key problem factor is the code. How do you solve it? By writing secure code. Follow the best practices. In the upcoming sessions when we will be discussing security issues, we will be doing both of the things. We will be doing the dynamic analysis. I'll tell you that because of this, this is how you test, and this is the security issue. When we will be learning the security issue, I will also be doing the source code review, that on this line, in this code, in this file, this is what they have written, and because of this we have this security issue. I'll take you to that exact line, that is the root cause of that security issue. I'll also suggest that if in place of this, if they have written this security issue is patched. So source code review of mobile plus dynamic application security testing, DAST and SAST, both of them are covered here. Then using secure authentication mechanism, this is something that is not new to all of you. There are a lot of security awareness campaigns that are being run by the government of India, by the various NGOs, by various countries. Globally, campaigns are running that do not use the mechanisms that have been compromised. Do not use HTTP, do not use those mechanisms that have already been compromised by the attacker. Always have TLS, all of those things. So in here what we want to do is, when you are developing any of the mechanism using which you will be authenticating the users. Now we have been introduced to a term, authentication. Can any one of you define authentication?
Authentication is like which will be identified to the application
We will be identifying the application.
for the application,
For the application, whom do you want to identify?
like who we are,
Who we are?
like
Acha, the
using.
user. Okay.
Yeah.
So we as an user will be identifying ourselves to the application, that this is who we are. Okay. Yes, Vikas.
Authentication means use the application as authenticated user means a legitimate user of the application.
Hmm.
First means present yourself that we are authorized to do a certain kind of action uh, for this application.
I will be noting down the two key terms that you have mentioned here. One is legitimate and another one is authorized. Sanjeev, how do you define authentication to a 5-year-old kid?
Yeah, authentication is the like who is authorized to access the application, or like like legitimate user, like who is authorized to access the application of features,
Who is authorized to use that feature?
or logging, who has a permission to access.
Permission. Anas,
So can I answer?
define authentication to a 5-year-old kid.
So it's like a basic process of verifying whether the same person who's made their account or anything is the same person or not. I don't think I can go more lower than that.
Simpler than that.
I mean, providing access to the same person so that you're not providing an access to different people. Like the
Hmm. Okay. We have two key terms here. I feel that we should be discussing that here and now. One is authentication, another one is authorization. Most of the people believe that authentication is authorization, but we do have a significant difference here. Authentication is not authorization. I'm not mentioning what you have mentioned, what some of you have mentioned is incorrect. But believe me, if in case in an interview someone is asking you what is authentication and you use the terms like authorized, permission, access control, things can get a bit challenging for us. So we need to understand the core difference between authentication and authorization. The first term that we have here is authentication. In simpler words, authentication means who am I? Who am I? I am Rohan. Who defines I am Rohan? How will I prove that I am Rohan? If I am being told that you have to prove that you are a citizen of this country, how do I do that? I show ID cards. I show the ID cards that are issued by the government of that company. That is authentication. That is how I prove who I am. Another one that we have here is authorization. Authorization means what can I do? For example, you are at the gate of your office. When you are at the gate of your office, you show your ID card to the security personnel and you are able to get in. Once you are able to get in your building, in your campus, you have a lot of buildings. One building is associated with the IT team. One building is for the finance team. One building is for the data center. What all buildings can you enter? That is authorization. So when you are at the gate of the office, when you are showing the ID card to your security personnel, that is authentication. And once you are into the campus, what all buildings you can visit, what all floors you can visit, which of the cabins can you enter, that is authorization. Please keep this example in mind so you do not forget authentication versus authorization. Authentication is who am I? Authorization is what can I do? What you mentioned, what all of you mentioned was correct. But the keywords that you have used, these keywords can trigger the interviewer. We would not want to do that. If we are talking about authentication, let us also cover about the factors of authentication. You must have quite commonly heard that a lot of people will be telling you, banks will be telling you, websites will be telling you, enable two-factor authentication, enable two-factor authentication, enable multi-factor authentication. How do you define the factors of authentication? Arun?
It's like something you have, someone you are, like I heard it.
Hmm. Someone you
I
are.
think no, something you have like RSA token and like your biometric print and something you are and something you have like your passwords. This kind of different factor, 2FA and MFA.
Hmm.
Yes, we can say it as physical factors and non-physical factors. So physical
Something you
factors,
know is something you have.
Hmm.
yeah, biometrics, all those things.
Hmm.
Whereas non-physical things like keys, passwords, OTP codes, all those things.
Okay. Yes, and you were mentioning some terms. Something you.
Something you know and something you have. If something you know is like you know the password.
Hmm.
Something you have is like you are entering some multi-factor authentication from your mobile
Hmm.
or call or something like that.
Okay. So where do we put biometric?
Yeah, completely depends on application to application. If at all some applications are handled with the like OTPs, some applications are handled with the biometric. Even some critical applications will be handled with the eye scanning or something like that.
Hmm.
It completely depends on the application to application.
Okay. According to the industry standards, we have got three factors of authentication. Factors mean how many hurdles would you have to pass? How many times would you have to tell it to the application that I am the legitimate user? There are three factors of authentication that you have. Something you know, that is the password, something that you can remember, something that you have in your knowledge. And because this is something that you have in your knowledge, that is why we call it something you know. That is the knowledge factor. Next part, that is something you have. Something you have as in you must have seen those USB security keys. Here, these are the examples of USB security keys. Whenever you have to log in, you just plug it in and you will be logged in. Here, these are the different types of USB security keys. Because this is something that you have, this is something that you possess. That is why we call it something that you have, and I'll call it security keys. That because this is something that you have, this is something that you own, this is something that you possess, that is why we call it possession factor. And the next part that we have is something who you are. Who you are means your voice, the texture of your voice, the pitch of your voice, the color of your eyes, your thumbprints, your fingerprints, something that you are biologically. So I'll be writing biometric. And because this is something that we inherit from our parent generations, something that we inherit from our parent generation, that is what why we call it inheritance factor. Inheritance has been derived from the term inheritance. Our biometric features are derived by our parent generations, not necessarily first generation, our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, their grandparents. So we have derived these characteristics from them. That is why we call it inheritance factor. These are the three factors of authentication: knowledge factor, possession factor, inheritance factor. From now on, if anyone asks you how many factors of authentication do we have, do not say two factor, multi factor. Say we have got three factors: knowledge factor, possession factor, inheritance factor. Knowledge factor is something you know, like the password. Possession factor is something that you have physically, like the security keys. And the inheritance factor is something who you are, most commonly biologically, that is the biometric factor. If while authenticating you are using any one of them, either knowledge factor or possession factor or inheritance factor, any one of them is single factor. Using any two of them is two factor, and using more than two of them is multi factor. So in your mobile phone, when you are scanning your thumb and you are locking it, you are using biometric. So that is inheritance factor. At the gate of the office, when you are showing the ID card, that is possession, because you have access to that ID card, that is physical card, that is possession factor. While punching in, you scan your thumb or you scan the barcode that you have on the card, that is two factor. You are using two things. First, you are showing the ID card to the security guard, and second, you are scanning your thumb on this machine. So that is two factor, possession factor plus inherence factor. When you are logging into your Google account, you enter the email ID and password. That password is the knowledge factor. Having any two of them is two factor. Having more than two of them is inherence factor. For example, you are entering the password, scanning the thumb, plugging in the security key, and then logging in. That is multi-factor. Around 75% of the people are using single factor. Around 24% of the people are using two factor. Less than 1% people are using this one multi-factor. So that is authentication, factors of authentication. Please keep this thing in mind next time whenever you are authenticating yourself, not only on any of the Android app, in real life as well. Like you are at the ATM machine, you are putting in the card, you are entering the pin. Recall what factors of authentication are being used here: physical card, password, getting the OTP on phone, cash withdrawal. What factors are being used there? In your everyday, try to include it. You will be able to get a very good idea of how you are being surrounded by the technology and how that technology is working. You will be feeling very confident and acquainted with all of the things that are around you. So that is authentication, my friends. Similarly, we have got authorization. What can I do once I am into the office, once I am into the campus? What all places can I visit? Can I visit the garden? Yes. Can I visit the canteen? Yes. Can I visit the kitchen of the canteen? No. Can I visit the billing counter? Yes. Can I visit the billing counter from the back door? No. So what all things you can do once you are logged in, once you are authenticated, that is authorization. It was important for me to discuss these things with you because some of you have used the terms that were not at the right place. The terms were right, but they were not at the right place. So permissions, access controls, they are related to authorization. Now, so when you are using authentication mechanism, always make sure that you have a password policy. You must have noticed that the applications will be asking you that your password should be of at least one uppercase, one lowercase, one number, one special symbol, at least 8 characters. This is what we define as the password policy. That this is the minimum requirement that you should be having in the password. Unless you have a password that contains these characteristics, you will not be able to log in. You will not be able to set that as a password. So these are the types of things that you should be keeping in mind. You can also offer your clients, your users, a two-factor authentication code, that you should be having the option to enable two-factor authentication. Whenever you want to log in, you can also use two-factor authentication for extra security. Then using tamper detection technique. Tamper here refers to modification. If I have given you 10 lines of a letter and you are making changes to that, the lines are 10 or they may increase, but you are making changes to the letter that I have given you. For example, I am writing it to someone, hello, how are you? And by the time that letter reaches them, it says, hello, I will kill you. That is tampering. Originally, what I had written, by the time it reached the receiver, it has been modified, it has been changed. It is not the same thing that I had sent. That is tamper. Tamper detection means if any of the change has been made, if any of the code has been modified, it has been tampered with. We should be having approaches, we should be having ways by which we can detect tamper. If the code has been tampered with, we should be able to detect it. Most probably by keeping a log of all of the activities, you will be able to detect the tamper. Then you should be following the principle of least privileges. In real life, the term privileges means something you have exclusive access to. For example, from your ATM card, you are the only person who can withdraw the cash. This is your privilege. I cannot withdraw cash using your ATM card. at least not in the ideal case. That is a privilege, something you have exclusive access to. Least privilege means having minimum amount of privileges possible. You must have seen it that when you are running any of the Linux machine, when by default you log in as a non-root user. That is the least privileges that you can have. Principle of least privileges means to any of the user give as less privileges as possible, give them as minimum permissions as possible until and unless they specifically ask for a permission and you feel that yes, it is safe for us to assign them this permission, then only give it. By default, give them as less privileges, as less permissions as possible. This is principle of least privileges. It will not be helpful for you in Android pen testing, during cloud pen testing, during web pen testing, network pen testing. In all of them, we have this principle. That is principle of least privileges. Next part that we have is implementing proper session management. Session management refers to when you are authenticated, once you are logged in at the side of the server or maybe on the client side as well, the application will be managing, the application will be maintaining your session, that yes, Rohan is logged in. All of these requests that are being made, these are being managed by Rohan, these are being initiated by Rohan. When I say implement proper session management, what I mean is that whenever any of the user logs out, all of the data related to the session, they should also be terminated. Along with that, as a best practice, I would also suggest that you should be maintaining a log of all of the session tokens, session identifiers that were assigned to the various users, so that in future, if anything goes wrong, if we have to investigate, we will be able to determine that in this request we have this session token, to which user is this session token related to, and then we will be able to carry out the further investigation. So for that reason, maintaining proper sessions and maintaining logs and data related to the sessions, that should also be done. It is also suggested that you should be using session tokens in place of session identifiers. Along with that, in your application, the data that you are transmitting and the data that you are storing, that should be using a strong encryption algorithm. It might look like that it is a basic thing to say, most naive thing the Rohan could say, but believe me, a lot of organizations I know, I have been on pen test engagement with them, wherein their internal servers were running over HTTP. All of the requests that are coming from those servers that are going to those servers, all of them are over HTTP. They do not have HTTPS enabled in their internal servers, considering that the internal servers can only be interacted with by any other internal server. This is not a public facing server, so we need not manage SSL certificates, we need not have HTTPS there. This is possible. I have seen it. It might feel that it is not being done these days, but when you will actually get into pen testing, you will see that these basic issues will be posing a great threat to the security. So having good cryptography tools, having good and trusted and encryption methods in place is very important for us. These are some of the points that are kept into consideration when you are performing a traditional pen testing of Android application. This is the approach that has been followed. Some of the organizations follow this. There is nothing wrong in this application. This is the base, but this is not enough. On top of it, we need to add other methodologies as well. These are some of the most common approaches that we have to follow, that we have to test for. On top of it, we need to add a few more things. What are they? We will be discussing them in the upcoming sessions. Now getting to the next part of today's session plan, that is reporting. You have seen what are the various approaches, the pen testing, the bug hunting. You have seen some of the most common problems that we get to see in any of the application. What are the things that we take care of on an initial basis in the Android pen testing? Now, the next phase is reporting. I mentioned it previously on day one that in any of the application, when you are performing pen testing, you go through the discovery phase, the assessment or analysis phase, you go through the exploitation phase, and the last phase is reporting. Reporting is the face of your organization. It is the face of you, what you have done during the complete engagement. It will be represented by the report. If your report is effective, it means the time that you have invested, the skills that you possess, they are up to the mark. This is how a sample format for a report looks like. To save everyone's time, I have written the things down. First of all, we will be having the executive summary. Executive here refers to CXOs, CTO, CISO, CEO, CMO, all of the people who are associated with the top level management. Executive summary is usually less than one page. It only covers a high level, non technical summary of what all things have been found during the complete engagement. For your reference, I have already kept a few reports here. So till here we have the executive summary. You can see this is the index, management summary, executive summary. Management level people, they will be having a look at this summary. Most of the people in the management, at least in the traditional approaches, they did not belong to the technical part. They just require a high level summary of what was done and let us know what are the results, so they can understand that the investment that they have done in terms of the money, in terms of the time, in terms of engaging the resources with you as an organization, with you as an auditor, was it worth? So what you have done during the complete engagement, you will be summarizing it in less than one page. At least you try to put in less than one page. That is the agenda. Sometimes it can go to 1.5 to 2 pages, but we try to keep it less than one page, because the people in the management level, they do not have much time to be able to go through the complete report. They would want to get done with the conclusion as early as possible. So here we will be writing that this is the scope, these are the applications that we have tested, and this is the 𝗧𝗏 so they can understand, they can verify that yes, the actual thing that we wanted them to test, the actual file that we wanted them to test, they have tested it, and we are not reading a report for any other application. This was the actual production application that has been tested. This is for Proton VPN. Here, these are the results. All of the security issues that were identified in the initial code review were properly fixed and accepted by Proton Technologies AG. Here. So here we have found one medium risk vulnerability and four low risk vulnerability in the reviewed source code and the mobile app. This is the vulnerability summary. Four low level security issues, initially they were found, now they have been fixed. One medium level security issues. Here, these are all of the 5 security issues that were reported. This was their initial risk, whether the particular security issue, has it been fixed or has it been accepted. Accepted, we write it when the security issue that we have reported, in some cases the organizations will mention that it is not possible for us to be able to fix this security issue. Either they have taken some other approaches or other implementations have already taken care of the security issue, or according to the business logic they have, according to the architecture they have, it is not possible for them to fix that security issue, or the cost of fixing is less than the cost of impact. So for that it is written as accepted here. So accepted means that we know that this is the security issue, and we as an organization accept that yes, this security issue can be here, it does not require a fix at the moment. So for that reason, it mentions accepted here. Till here we had the management summary. Now it goes into the technical analysis. What was the security issue? What does it do? The CVSS score, that is how severe was it. Then once we have reported the security issue, we rechecked, that is retested the security issue and we could not find it. This is the security issue that was accepted. When the security issue is fixed, we write fixed here. When it is accepted, we write accepted here. All of the organizations will be having their own format of the report. All of the organizations. There are publicly available reports as well, publicly available templates as well. They can be used, or you can devise your own, report template as well. I'll also refer to another penetration testing report so you get an idea. So here these are all of the technical analysis. You can see various extracts of the source code have also been mentioned here. What should have been done? What are the various you know uh, uh, recommendations that have been made? All of them have been mentioned here. So what we do, we first of all have the executive summary, then we have the scope, that these are all of the assets that we will be testing. If you have network, Android apps, iOS apps, web apps, you mention all of those things, that these are all of the assets that we will be testing, and this is the methodology on what is the vision, what is the approach, that will it be leaking out any of the sensitive data, do we have to meet the regulatory demands, do we have to meet any of the compliance, what methodology will we be approaching, we will be having it. Then the findings, what are all of the security issues that have been found, we will be categorizing them on the basis of low level, medium level and high level, as you can see it in the report here. Low level, medium level, high level. Next thing that we'll do is that we will be in each of the security issue in the technical analysis, we will be including the relevant screenshots and logs. When we will be learning more about the security issue in our training, I will also show you the HackerOne reports, that this is how you have to write a HackerOne report for this security issue. Then the risk assessment, it means the security issue that has been found, how much risk was it posing to the business? What impact it could have on the business? That is what we do in risk assessment. Then the recommendation, that this is the best practice that you should follow. This is what you should do to follow the compliance. Then the conclusion, that we tested this Android app. These many security issues were found, and this was the impact. Within this time frame, these many security issues have been fixed and these many security issues have been accepted. This is the conclusion. Now this application is ready for production. This application is ready for operating in these countries. This compliance requirement is met. These regulatory demands are met. Then the appendices and references. If in case we have given links to any of the external resources, that for this security issue, this external resource is to be referred. So in the references and appendices, you will be giving those references. If we have that here, no, it was not required here, so they have not put it. Here you can see the screenshots that we have tested this. This is the recheck, and it is done here. So this is one of the reports. This is another report. This is the version history. Every time you make a change in the report, you write that here. Then we have the executive summary, overall risk rating, the testing scope and methodology, internal phase, external phase, the conclusion, most likely compromise scenarios, and the references. These were all of the places that were visited, that were read, that were referred to for creating this report. Here, these are the various implications. These are the conclusions. Here, I'll be sharing both of these pen test reports with you in the same Google Drive, and I'll be sharing the link to the Google Drive in the WhatsApp group. The daily notes, the notes that I'll be writing here, and also if there is any of the thing that you need to know or you should be having for your future reference, I'll be sharing it in the same folder, in the same Google Drive. How can you access that? I'll be mentioning that in the WhatsApp group. Please do one thing, send me your email ID over my WhatsApp number, and I'll share the resources with you. So this is how a sample pen test report will look like. As an organization, we will be having maximum investment. A lot of thoughtfulness is given in preparing the report. You cannot afford to have any of the mistakes in the report. Spelling mistakes, formatting errors, grammatical mistakes, incomplete report. We cannot accept it, because this is the face of your organization. What all things you have done, the organization you are working with, what you have done, what your organization has done, that will be done, that will be shown by these pen testing reports. This is the face of your organization. You cannot afford to have mistakes in here. It is always on point. A lot of people on various hierarchy levels will be reading, proofreading, and verifying the reports, because I belong to an organization that offers auditing services, that offers pen testing services. Senior management people will be verifying the reports. So it plays a crucial role. It's very important for us. If we want to become a good consultant, a good pen tester, report writing should be coming in very handy. Report writing is a skill. With practice, the more reports you refer to, the more reports you write on your own, you will be able to get better at it. And these are all of the things that you need to know related to reports. Next thing that we have, the practical approach that we will be taking, is that we will understand that in any of the Android application, what is the attack surface? What are all of the components? What are all of the places that you can actually look for the security issues? The first thing that we do whenever we are performing security researching, whenever we are auditing for the security, is that we analyze the attack surface. That this is all that we have to test. What are the various things, components that can be added to the attack surface is what we will be discussing in the upcoming session. Tomorrow's session is going to be crucial. Please ensure your attendance tomorrow. The attack surface, how do we define attack surface on any of the Android application? How will you be finding out the attack surface? How will you be having the understanding of the application? We will be discussing that tomorrow. Before you leave today's discussion, like, this was all that I had in my mind for today. Now if you have any questions or queries, we can discuss them.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, I didn't understand the proper session management one part of it. So,
Hmm.
for the key problems, the common problems, sir,
Hmm.
I didn't get the proper session management. Yes, sir.
Session management is, as soon as you are authenticated, once you are logged in on the server side, there will be session tokens that will be assigned to you. Every time you make a request, every time you will be performing any of the action using that session token on the server side, it will be identified who is logged in. If the server side is not properly managing the session, for example, you have clicked on log out, but the session token that is associated with that session, if it is not terminated, if it is not revoked on the server side, you will be able to reuse the session. So that is session management. Along with that, you should also be ensuring that all of the previous session tokens that were assigned to the users, those session tokens should be properly logged,
Law.
so that in the future reference, whenever we have to identify that this particular session token is associated with which user, by referring to the logs, you can do that for the sake of accountability. This is what we do in proper session management.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, if you have any of the questions or queries, you can stay back in the room and we can discuss. Otherwise, please mark your attendance in the chat box by writing the full name. I'll mark your attendance and I'll share it with the management team. Thank you so much for joining in and have a lovely evening ahead. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 for sure. Please do take care of yourselves. You may leave the room for now if you do not have any questions.
Thank you.
So
Thank
this
you.